My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back to the world's best kept secrets. Today we have an interesting conversation, and today we have somebody who's been doing this work that she does for nearly a decade. And so when I get a guest like that, we just sit in the School of Hard Knocks, we uncover all of the mistakes they did, and we just talk through that. And hopefully after that, what will happen for you is that you can just take that and condense your own time, and you don't have to do the same mistakes they did. With me today is Tai. Tai, the work Tai does is she helps entrepreneurs get more visible, grow their audience, grow their impact, and have more people receive their message. Tai works with entrepreneurs who are successful, but just want to increase their impact. She's going through some really tough lessons, some tough things as a business owner. And today she's going to dive into that and tell us why the School of Hard Knocks has taught her. Tai, welcome to the School of Hard Knocks. Welcome to the World's Best Kept Secret. Specifically, welcome to the School of Hard Knocks segment. I can't wait to dive in.
Fantastic. I'm excited to be here, Prima.
Before I get ahead of myself, could you please tell the audience what you do? Because I feel like sometimes I babble and mumble, and I am going all over and around experts thing, and they're going, really, is that what I do? So could you tell the listener what you do?
Well, your audience is exactly who I talk to. The audience that I work with are people who are brilliant at what they do, but they are unknown. And what's the point of having all these gifts and talents and ideas, but nobody knows who you are and how to find you? And so what I get to do as a visibility strategist is help them become more visible. And a large part of that is not just the external stuff, right? People are saying, well, be more visible on social media, do your marketing. A lot of my clients, there's an internal block. And so we do a lot of internal work to help them expand their vision about who they are and to help them remove the internal gremlins, the inner gremlins, the small talk, the things that the roadblocks and internal barriers that keep them playing small instead of showing up 100% in their authentic brilliance.
When you talk about visibility, could you go a little bit about the visibility, the blogs and everything? When you say visibility, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean the views, engagements, and people we're reaching? Do you mean what do you mean by visibility? Take us there. What does it mean to be visible?
Well, I specifically focused on being strategically visible. And I'll give you an example to help your audience understand. There's a lot of people that spend hours on Facebook all day long. And they're wondering why, as many hours as they spend on Facebook, it could be Instagram, TikTok, whatever, they're wondering why they are not getting clients, they're not getting leads. Well, the reality is you might be visible, but strategically, you're not in the same place as your audience. If you're spending all of your time on Facebook and your audience is on LinkedIn, or your audience is out attending live conferences and events, it doesn't matter how many hours you spend on Facebook thinking that you're visible, you're not going to be visible to the right people. Another example is within a platform. There are people that are on Facebook, have been on Facebook for years, and they keep putting out this amazing content, and they're wondering why they're not getting any traction. Well, I've had clients where we take a look at who they're connected to on Facebook. They've got about 500 friends on Facebook. And those 500 friends are people that they've known, that they went to school with, that have been friends with them for years, but have never bought from them. So think about this. If that's where you are, you keep putting out your amazing, your best content to an audience of people who is not interested in buying from you. So you might think that you're visible, but you're not visible to the right audience. And so the work that we do at the tactical level is about making sure you've got the right content, the right message, and you're getting it to the right audience at the right time. All of those things have to line up in order for your visibility to be strategic and for your visibility to get you results.
What I hear you saying seems to be like you need to be visible strategically. So does that have to do with how many people I'm connected to, or it has to do with the right person, the right message at the right time? Does that
All
like
of it.
does that go
Yeah.
to the vanity of, all right, you've connected to 500 people, or you could be connected to 5,000, but without compromising the quality? Like when you say the right people at the right place in the right time, are we saying the quality versus quantity, or are you saying we need to bump up everything? What's your truth there?
It's not an either or, it's an and statement, right?
Mm,
It's an and, right? So if you've got 5,000 people, of course you want them to be 5,000 quality people. Like you don't, but not everybody needs 5,000 people. If you are the person that is, um, you're very, very high ticket and you only need 10 clients per year, you don't need 5,000 people. But I've got people who may work with only 10 one-on-one clients a year, but they're selling a book or they're launching a course. You can't sell a course or a book to just 10 people. So you need a bigger audience. You're going to need thousands of people. And I see that all the time, especially in this day and age where everybody says, put a course together and generate passive income. It is really challenging to try to generate passive income if you've only got access to 500 people for
mm.
a low ticket course. You can't really you can't monetize that. And so my audience, as brilliant as they are, if they've been working with referrals and that's been great for them when they're ready to expand with a course or with a book or even with a podcast, right? You've got to build your audience so that you actually have people who are going to make an impact when it comes to your income.
As you speak, I'm beginning to pick some questions like you talk about growing your audience and you talk about being able to scale your impact. And so in this point, I'm trying to kind of understand, is the problem you're solving for me growth, or is it scaling, or is it both? Could you help me enlighten? Could you enlighten me on
I've
that?
got a question for you so I'm clear. What's the difference when you say, what do you think the difference is between growth and scaling?
The difference between growth and scaling to me is more like growth is like I want clients. I just want more clients. I want to prove my system. I want to make sure things are repeatable. I don't have like something which I am particularly trying to blow up. With scaling, like things are working, clients are coming in. I need to maybe expand my capacity and accommodate more people. But as far as what I'm doing is concerned, it's working well. People are coming in, they're getting results. So really, at this point, my problem is capacity. So is it like
Okay.
the scaling bit, or is it like the growth? More people get more results, those things, like that phase of, you know what, I need more client results, I need more people in, I need a bigger audience, because those are two different problems for my people.
True, but I'm not talking to people. Well, it sounds like building to me. Like if you
Mm,
don't have a proven system, you're building, you're not growing. There's nothing to grow.
mm,
Just because you work with three people and you have no testimonials, you can't say that you're now in growth phase. You are still building the foundations of your business. If you're growing, that means you've got a proven system in place, to me. And I think that means that now you want more clients, right? You're ready to take on more clients because you've got a proven system and you've got something in place. When you're ready to scale things, it's
mm,
taking it beyond your initial client base, right? So I've got maybe, and that could be somebody that's switching from, I was doing one-on-one coaching. And now I want to expand that to group coaching, or now I want to start licensing stuff. I'm scaling into different places. So we're talking about people who are in that space where you're ready to scale. You're not just trying to grow, right? You're not just trying to necessarily just like you had 10 clients, now you want 20 clients, right? That's not scaling. That's you increasing your sales capabilities, right? That's you talking to
mm.
more people. We're talking about scaling. You need a bigger audience for whatever you want to do next. It's not that 20 people, the 20 clients that you have is not going to help you sell your book. It's not going to help you launch your course. So that's who we're talking to.
Amazing. The other question I have for you is, you've been around for how many years have you done this?
Over 20 years.
Take us through those things you wish you didn't do. Take us through those mistakes. You were like, geez, that was so expensive. I wouldn't want to do that again. If you could go back 20 years in time, what are the
Mhm.
things you would definitely not do again?
I would definitely not undercharge. I think that's what a lot of us do is we come into this and we undercharge because we don't understand the market. We also undervalue ourselves. So that's something I would definitely not do again. I would definitely not ignore learning how to sell.
Mm.
I came from a six-figure job and in a corporate space, where I climbed the ladder, I got the accolades, I got the receipts for the work that I did in a corporate space. And so a lot of people who are in that and they start their own business, they automatically think, well, I was making six figures in my job. It should be no problem for me to build a six-figure business. And so I'm just going to do what I did in my job. But we were never salespeople in our jobs. So we didn't understand sales and marketing. And I delayed learning sales and marketing, and that really ended up hurting my growth because I needed those skills. I needed to learn how to sell. I needed to learn how to market effectively, and so I would never do that again. I would invest in that as soon as I could. Whether it was me learning from somebody or me bringing on people onto my team, but I would invest in that sooner than later in my business.
Mm. You talked about before we did this call, I had a chat with Tai, and she talked about having a problem of imposter syndrome as she came up the business. And I wanted to kind of dive into that because I feel like imposter syndrome is big for my people. Who am I? Like, why does my message matter? Why would that person listen to me? Why would I charge much? Take us through your journey of imposter syndrome and kind of that story. How did it all happen? What's the backstory behind how you jumped out of this imposter and now you're like doing things in a way that you fear? You don't fear anything.
Well, I have a different opinion about imposter syndrome. So a lot of people say, well, imposter syndrome is that you not feeling like, you're legit or, oh, am I really the person? And I think it's opposite. I think that a lot of people show up and they dumb down what they do.
Mm.
They don't show up authentically.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wondering why they can't get the visibility and attraction they need, but they're not showing up 100% authentically. And they are literally being an imposter. So, for example, if like you are incredible and amazing, but you keep dumbing down your services and your offers and your language, you're not
Mm-hmm.
showing up as who you are. Right? You're not showing up authentically. So you are an imposter. And of course, you're going to feel like an imposter because you're not showing up 100% in your full brilliance. And I'll give you an example. One of the things when I started, I used to always talk about lead generation. You need to generate leads. You need to generate leads. And I remember somebody said to me, well, you shouldn't talk about lead generation because your audience doesn't understand that term. You just need to talk to them about getting clients. And I did that for about a year. And then here's what I realized. If the people that I'm talking to don't understand the term lead generation, they're not my client. Because here's what started to happen. They had no idea that generating leads was important to them, right? Because they didn't know what lead generation was. Those people are too new for what I wanted to offer. They're not my people. If you are not in this, if you're in this game and you haven't figured out what lead generation is, you're not my client. You need to go to a coach that's going to be at a different level because I'm not there. My clients, they need to come into the game understanding I need to generate more leads.
Mm.
Not I don't know what I'm doing. Not I just want more clients. Because when they understand, which is what I realized, when they understood what lead generation was, they understood when we started talking about funnels. They understood when we started talking about ads. They understood when we started talking about all those other things that you need to generate leads successfully. But had I kept listening to that person that says, oh, don't talk about lead generation. So here I am, dumbing down my message.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it bring me? The wrong people. And then I would start to feel like, man, I'm not being 100% myself
Mm.
because I'm using these words that are just not what I want to say. And that was being an imposter. So it's a different way of being an imposter. And it drives me crazy when I see people doing it because I talk to so many people who are just absolutely brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not showing up in their full brilliance.
So when you say be authentic, show up in your full brilliance, like, what does that mean? Everyone says show up in your full brilliance, be authentic. But I wonder what that means. Because everyone says be authentic. And I've seen people who are not authentic, at least in my eyes, and they were saying, be authentic. And I'm like, why don't you start? You know, like, why don't you live by example? But I guess they're trying to be authentic, but in my eyes, I feel like, nah, they're not. And so, what is authenticity? You know, like, help me here. What is authenticity?
Well, I'm going to start by saying what authenticity is not. Right, because I think that will help, right? Like authenticity is not you sharing all the grimy details of every single thing that ever happens in your day and life. You know, I've seen people say I'm authentic and I'm going to get on here and I'm going to tell you what really, what so and so really did to me, or what, like that's you airing your dirty laundry. That's not being authentic, right? That's not what we're talking about here. And I'll use myself as an example. I'm a big believer of practicing what you teach. So for me, for example, one of the things that makes me stand out with a lot of my clients is that I don't just use traditional methods in how we do work. I do a lot of intuitive work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, we might do tarot, we might use Akashic readings, but we're using that intuitive tactics in the work that we do. Now, I could have said, well, I'm not going to really talk about that stuff because it's spiritual stuff and people don't like that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to talk about it. That would not be me being authentic, right? That would be me being very inauthentic and not showing up fully. The minute I
So
started talking
does that
about
mean, is that coming from a place of, I know spirituality is important, it's helped me and it will help my people, or is it the belief you have that spirituality is what people need to go down the layers and bring out themselves? Why would you not teaching authentic spirituality be authentic? Like, where is that coming from?
because it's what I value.
Oh, okay.
Right. One of my values is spiritual liberation. Right.
Okay.
And that's incorporated into how I show up and how I do my business. So if I'm not going to talk about my values, I'm going to attract all different kinds of people that I really don't want to work with. Like I don't want somebody who is I don't want to work with people who don't have the same values that I have. That's important to me. And everybody has their own values, right? Like my another one of my values is, discovery and education, right? My clients love learning. They're lifelong learners. So
Mm,
when we talk about education, when we talk about investing in yourself, they're there for it because that's a value that they have.
mm,
And so when I write my content, when I talk to my audience, I am talking to those people. If you are somebody that incorporates your spirituality into what you do, if you believe that part of your mission is to show up and have a bigger impact because you want the world to be a better place, you're my people. And so I talk about that in my message. I don't keep it behind closed doors. But I talk about that in my message because those are the people that I want to attract. And I think a lot of what people do is they kind of figure, well, I saw this person do A, B, and C. So I need to do A, B, and C just like that person. But if that's not who you are, and I'll give you another example with this. There's a lot of people right now in this space of your divine feminine and the feminine goddess, and that's great. But one of the things that bothers me about that is like 90% of the people that I see talking about your feminine goddess are all showing cleavage and lots of leg, and it's highly sexualized. And I'm like, I love to put on lashes. I love to dress up. I love to do all those things, except wear 4-inch heels. That's probably about the only thing that I don't like, Prima, right? But to me, that's not the only way to embody your divine or show your feminine side, right? And if I can't be authentic doing that, right? Like you're not going to see me wearing 4-inch heels talking about, your divine goddess. I'm going to talk about your divinity. I'm going to talk about femininity, but I'm not going to be wearing 4-inch heels doing it. That's not
mm,
authentic to me, right? I see
mm.
other people doing it and it looks great, but you're not going to see that from me, right? So that's another way that I see people kind of showing up thinking they have to be someone else. And I really think that keeps people from being more visible because what they say in their minds is, I don't look like that, or I
Mm,
don't do that. So
mm,
since I don't do that, I'll never be able to have that level of visibility. And that's not true. You get to show up 100% as who you are.
mm,
And I promise you, when you stand on your values,
mhm.
when you are strategically visible, right? When you stop being an imposter, you're going to attract the people that you're meant to serve.
I like how you say it, because I get confused when people show their flesh. I'm like, what are you looking for? I never get it, and I just think it's not me. But I think that in their own skin is something, you know, I just get confused. Why do you need to show your flesh to people? You know, I just get confused and I'm like, Prima, these are your own beliefs. Do not impose them on the world. So as I got you really, like, I saw you get really passionate talking about sleep. I was like, welcome to
Well,
my
you know
world.
what? Well, it's not an either or, right? It's an and. Like it's people can be that way and they're going to attract the people who they are. And what I'm saying is I can be exactly who I am and attract my people too. So you don't have to choose to say, well, if I want to do this, I have to show up that way. It's an and conversation, right? Because my people are not going to come to me because they like, they're looking for, somebody's going to show them how to like, you know, show their cleavage. And listen, I've got cleavage and I'll show it when I want to, when I feel like it. But that's not the reason people are going to be attracted and drawn to me. My audience are word people, right? They're going to hear my words. I'm a healer with my words. They're going to hear my message. They're going to feel my energy. And that's how I'm going to pull, my folks in. And everybody has a different way of doing it. So if your way of doing it, and I'm speaking to your audience directly now, if your way of doing it is showing up with the heels and you are full glam, and that's how you love to show up, 100% embrace that. Don't dumb that down and say, well, I can't show up and be this way because somebody's going to not like it. No, be 100% who you are. And if you're on the other side where you want to show up in a hoodie and a baseball cap with your sneakers on, and you want to talk to people from that comfort zone, then be that, embrace that, be 100% you. And I promise you that the people that rock with you are going to show up because they've been waiting for you and they've been looking for the message that you have to deliver.
I love where this is going because I really want to go deep. So, what do you think beneath gets people to not show up as that? Because I don't know anything that is more visible, more attractive, more disruptive. And I teach disruptive marketing. I don't know anything that is more disruptive than you being you in your DNA that nobody can copy. What do you think beneath the surface makes people want to look like, I don't know, Amy Porterfield or the other person on the, what do you think that is coming from? Like, in your opinion, where do you think that is coming from? Because we can sit here and say it, but I think there's someone who actually struggles to think that they are enough in their skin, and they don't know if that is going to be whatever the thing is. Like, they don't know if there's a tribe that is going to come out of them, show up, without makeup like me. I can do it, but I know there is someone who can't. So how do we help that person? What is causing that, and how can they begin to free themselves from that bondage of, oh my God, without hair, without makeup, no one will see me. And I'm like, hey, look at me, nothing. Just show up from the shower, boom, to the screen. But I don't really have a process of the person who is like, yeah, I gotta look good and my shadow is not nice. And the other person had this thing. Where does it come from?
I think it comes from knowing your values and knowing yourself.
Mm,
Like one of the so part of what I do is something called liberation coaching. And one of the first things we start with are questions, and you've got to be real curious. Like, what do you really want? How do you really want to show up?
mm,
I mean, and I'm a full believer of embracing it. Like today, I don't have a wig on. Like I wear wigs, I wear lashes sometimes, but not when I want to. It depends on what season and phase that I'm in. Some days I like to have big hair, right? And my audience embraces all of it. Like nobody's ever said to me, "Oh, you changed your hair again." Nobody's ever said that, right?
mm,
So I think it comes from knowing who you are, right? Who do you want to show up as? How do you want to be?
mm,
Right? Who are you? And I think a lot of people don't take the time. Well, I won't say a lot of people, but there are people who haven't taken the time to answer that question and figure that out. So what's happening is every time they see something that looks like it works for someone else, they're going to adopt it. And it's
wow.
kind of like, I talked about this a long time ago, but it's kind of like when you're in an adolescent phase, like when you're going through that teenager phase and you're trying to figure out who you are. And one week you might be a tomboy, the next week you might be trying something else. And then, you like rap music, and then the next week you like something else. But you're going through all those phases trying to find out who you are.
Mhm,
Like if you were to look back at pictures of your teenage years, you might see 3 or 4 different versions of yourself. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to be in a house music and like wear like Doc Martin boots and all kinds of like,
mm,
where, I was trying to figure out who I was. And I think there are a lot of people that are like that in their business. They're trying to figure out who they are, what their business identity is going to be. And then there's also people who need to realize that at some point your business identity is going to change. Maybe you started, especially if you started your business off because you were let go from a job or you were laid off and you had to start a business. And so your business was a survival business and you did what you did because it was the easiest thing, it was the lowest hanging fruit, and you could get started. But that doesn't mean that's the business that you have to be in now. And a lot of my clients they've learned how to make six figures in a survival business. But what they start to realize is now that they know how to make money, they're called to do something else. They have a bigger message. There's something deeper that they want to do, and they're trying to figure out how to pivot. Right. And that's where that imposter comes up, because imagine you came into this, and this is part of my story. So I'm going to go back and kind of double back with part of my story. My business was, for a long time, I had a marketing agency for 6 years.
Oh.
And in a marketing agency, I'm building quizzes, I'm focusing on lead generation and funnels and all that stuff. But that wasn't the real work that I wanted to do. I started off as a coach.
Wow.
20 years ago. But in 20 years ago, Black women were not investing in coaching. And now here I was trying to be this coach and nobody was biting, but people were looking for social media support. And so I focused on that.
Yeah.
And so my pivot recently has been, let's get back to the coaching and the work that we love to do. Right. And so that was being an imposter for a really long time in a way. Right. Yes, I could do it. And a lot of people have this, especially when you're good at a lot of things. You're good at so many things. But what is the thing on your heart that you really want to do? What is the work that you really want to do? And that's kind of where I got to in my journey, where, I looked at my life and I'm looking at the body of work that I want to leave for the next 10 years. I don't want my body of work to be that Tai was a really good marketer and she helped us build great quizzes. That worked for a while. And that was a great business. We made 6 figures, multiple years, multiple 6-figure. When I look back at my body of work in this phase of my life, I wanted to be Tai helped women blaze trails and make an incredible impact with the work that she did, with the messages that she shared.
I feel like you are describing me. I started my coaching business to save my mom. My mom was dying and I just jumped on, started coaching. Then I started to like it, but then I just helped people make money. And then that at some point just got stale. I was like, make money and then what? So I pivoted. I started helping people create and monetize their personal brand. And then I did that until one day my client was dying. I couldn't help her. I was like, he's made 250 grand with me. I can't help her. She's dying. She was in survival mode. She couldn't heal herself or something. She had a transplant and she just couldn't bounce back because her body was like in masculine all the time. And then she was dying. I was like, I don't want to do this work. I can't help people make money and just die. And so I started looking for who can I help build, monetize a brand in a way that brings lasting impact. And that is how I started working with healers. That's how I started working with all these intangible experts, because they're doing their legacy work, you see. And so when we can get that work and make it a legacy brand, then we're making money, we're creating an impact, and really we're leaving legacy work. Like we're leaving work that is here forever. But I wonder, Tara, because what you're saying is, as long as you're doing work that is not in line with your true authentic self, as long as you're dumbing down your brilliance, you're an imposter, which I get. But what is the process of bouncing off of the imposter? Because I think I was fine until I felt like an imposter. And then I was like, no, this doesn't feel well. And then I was like, you know what, Prima, you've never died from trying something else. So go do that thing. And then I jumped on it and started doing it. And I did it until I was like, now me continuing with this work makes me an imposter. And I was like, no, I didn't call it imposter, but it just doesn't feel good. And then I was like, Prima, you've never died from a pivot. Go do the other thing. But if someone is in a place where they just know that this has stopped feeling good, which may be a sign that, you know what, you're actually stepping into your imposter. What is the thought process of jumping out of that imposter back to your true authentic self, which I know is a process you've managed to do very successfully? So like, how should they think through it? Because most of it is not even a choice. most of it is like you're just there and you're like, something is missing.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of it's just by default, right? So I have to
Mm,
do something, so I'm going to do this,
mm,
or I can do this, so I'm going to do it, and that's
mm,
it's fine. And listen, none of these things are missteps. This is a journey. So
mm,
every step that you take is getting you closer,
mm.
especially if you're somebody who's committed to doing your own work,
Yeah.
right? Every step that you take is getting you closer to whatever your path is supposed to be. And
Mm,
a lot of times people get frustrated because we think it's supposed to be linear. Well, once I do this, I'm gonna do this forever. And
mm,
I'm never gonna change. And that keeps people stuck because then they're like, well, I gotta find a perfect thing now. No, you need to find what's next.
mm,
And then listen, and then let that grow you, and then go to what's next, and then go to what's next, and then go to what's next. That's how we live. That's how we learn. That's how we do the work of becoming. So to answer your question, you've just got to start asking questions. If you're in that place where you feel like, I'm not feeling good about this,
mm,
it's causing me more stress. Yeah, there's something that's off here. Start asking yourself some questions. And when we do liberation coaching, that's the first thing we start with is you have to get curious. What is not working?
mm,
What is this that I'm feeling? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling dissatisfied? Am I feeling sad? Where is this coming from? But there's questions that we ask, and we have a journal that that we're getting ready to release. It's called the Divine and Daring Journal. And it
mm.
asks some of those questions that people need to focus on because that's the first step is getting curious. Don't ignore. And here's what happens for a lot of people. Those questions come up and you brush them aside,
Yeah.
right? And because we say, oh, well, no, I got to do this and I can't ever change. And what would people, and here's a big one. And this is how you know that you might be an imposter syndrome. If you are deciding based on what you think other people are going to say or
Mm,
do,
mm,
you're in imposter syndrome. Because and we call that the mirror mask. Like there's different kinds of imposter, archetypes, right? But we call that the mirror mask because what's happening is everybody around you is telling you you're this, and so you become that.
mm,
It's like an extended version of the ugly duckling, right? Everybody says, "Oh, you're a duck, but you're ugly. You're ugly. You're ugly." And then you realize that, "Oh, you're not a duck. You're an eagle." Right? That's why, but you've been listening to what everybody's mirroring to you for so long.
mm,
Oh, you're really good at that. You should do this. How many of you, how many of your listeners have had that where people in their family say, "You're really good at this. You should do this." And it's not what you want to do at all. It's not even how you see yourself. But we try to fit ourselves into what other people are telling us. And that's one of the ways that you become an imposter.
mm. I love that. I felt like you were speaking to me because like everyone in my life has tried to tell me to do something, and I'm like, nope. But I would imagine I'm very strong with my opinion, but there's people who are not, and people tell you to be that because that's, I don't know, how they want to see you. They want you to keep so small. They want to hold that identity of you that they knew in high school. It's crazy. It's
Yeah. Or sometimes people, especially people that are close to us, they're filtering us through their own fears.
mm,
And this isn't a blame thing at all because people are where they are and we get to love them exactly where they are. This isn't a blame thing, but it is about recognizing when someone says something to you, they're filtering it through their own fears and their own biases.
mm,
And we have every right to question their filters and their bias and to
mm,
stand firm in how we see ourselves. We don't have to see ourselves how other people see ourselves. In fact, that's a danger when we try to fit ourselves into how other people see us instead of checking in with ourselves and getting curious to say, well, is that how I really see me? Is that who I really am? I don't think
mm,
that's who I really am. Let me do some work. And it is work. You know, um, it's not like you get to flip a switch and then you have all the answers. It is work. And that's why it requires a coach. That's why it requires having somebody who can come at this objectively and help you ask questions. And I want to be clear about this as a coach. And I've coached for years and years and years. And it's funny, Prima, because my clients would come to me for marketing help, and I would end up coaching them because that's who I am at my core, right? Talk about being, an imposter, right? A coach is not going to give you an answer. Like, I'm not going to tell you who you are, but I am going to ask you some questions to help you make that determination for yourself. And that's what a lot of people don't get. Because I see people say this all the time. I'm a coach. People come to me and I give them answers. That's not a coach, that's a consultant. But coaching is about me asking you the questions that help you uncover it for yourself. I'm going to ask you questions to help you remove those blocks for yourself, because that's the skill set. That's what you need. Is you don't need somebody to tell you, you need somebody to help you uncover it so you can become your own advocate. You can have agency for yourself, and that's what a coach does.
Do you imagine? I often get a bit confused when those things come in, because I did everything I did from the School of Hard Knocks. So I had no idea what a coach was supposed to do, what a mentor was supposed to do, what a consultant was supposed to do. But I felt like I always had to switch hats based on the person who's in front of me. Okay, this person wants me to tell them exactly what to do. This person has the answers, they just don't see them. And this person, I just have to share my story. My story is my life, what I've gone through, and kind of say, if it were me, I'd do this. Is it how do you look at that? Because sometimes people want a coach, and then at some point you have to flip your heart into something else. What's that process look like for you? If someone paid you for coaching, but then as things went on, you realize, oh, I think I have to be a consultant for this person. They don't seem to be getting to the answers. What is your process with that? I've had to wear like multiple hats with like people sometimes.
Well, you can do that if you choose. There's no or here. There's no either or. You get to choose what you do. For me though, if somebody is not seeing the answer, they're probably not ready for it. And a lot of people don't understand this. If you tell somebody an answer that they're not ready for, they're not emotionally ready for, they're not spiritually ready for it, it's not gonna work. And that's why you can tell people 3 or 4 times and they're still doing the same thing. They're still stuck. You could write the answer in bold letters and put it right in front of them, and they're not gonna do it. So as a coach, my question, I go back to the question, right? So if for example, and I'll give you, and this was me. Here's my thing, and I use myself as an example all the time. I knew I was overweight for years. Knew it for years. Did that stop me from going to the store and buying chips? Nope. Did it stop me from eating all kinds of stuff? Nope. Did it get me on the couch? Did it, get me off the couch? Not at all. Now, I can go to the doctor. Every time I went to the doctor, guess what they're talking about? This. Did it change anything? No.
You were not ready.
Right? So they could say it all they wanted to. But here's the question. Here's one of the questions that helped me change. Why are you holding on to the weight? What's the benefit of you staying at that weight? Oh, let me think about that. Wow. That's a whole different question. And when I started doing the layers to like, what is this? Right. And part of that was, if people really see who I am, they're going to be upset with me. Right. Or, for a lot of women who've experienced abuse or assault, and we put layers on ourselves because we don't want to be seen, that no diet is going to work until you deal with that trauma. But see what happened there? I could tell you all day long you need to lose weight. I could give you a meal plan. And think about this, how many women you got a meal plan, you're taking the pills, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, and you're still, nothing's happening. So there's another reason why you're holding on to the weight. What is it? Let me ask you a question. What's the benefit to this? What is there something that you're trying to protect yourself from? What do you think about that? And now you're on a whole different path, but I can't get there from consulting you, right? I can't get there from telling you what to do. I've got to ask you some questions. And that's like, I focus, I do both. I focus on coaching, and I can do coaching and consulting. And that's where the intuition comes in and how I work with my clients, because I'm able to see. One of my very first paying client actually told me this. She said, you have the ability to see people beyond where they are. And that can be scary for some people because they don't see it yet.
Yeah, then I'm
And so
thinking.
one of the things I'll say to my clients is this, I'll say, can I sow a seed?
Mm,
Because I want to share something with you.
mm,
And it's not for you to do anything with right now, but I just want to sow this into you right now. And
mm,
then I'll give them that information to show them that seed. All I'm doing is planting a vision, planting a seed for them that they can grow into a vision when they're ready.
mm,
But that's me using my intuition. As I said, this is one of the things that differentiates me. I'm not going to bark at you. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to push you. And you just need somebody to tell you that's not what my clients need. Some people need that. So go find that coach or that person that does that. My clients are looking for somebody to co-create with them. They're looking for somebody to partner with them, somebody to be their confidant. And so
mm.
that's why the term that we use is vision midwife. I am your vision midwife. I'm going to help you give birth to that vision of yourself or that vision that you have for your business. And that's a process where we spend 9 months together, just
Mm.
like a doula would if you were trying to birth a child. I'm going to be that vision midwife helping you give birth to what's next for you.
I feel like we have a very good thing that I would like to dive in a little bit, but I would take 15 minutes more. But I want to be respectful of your time, and if you have a hard close, we can wrap it up. What do you think? I'll cut this out.
I
Okay.
get about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Bye. Okay, cool. Guys, this is so much fun. I want to dive in. I know you have a hard stop at some point, and so I will keep it short. I picked something very crucial, which is when people are not ready to do the work, they're not. It doesn't matter what you say, how many times you remind them, how much aware they are. If they're not willing to do the work, they're just not. And what I wanted to ask is, even outside of coaching, outside of consulting, if that was somebody that just didn't know what was wrong with them, they know they have the weight, they know they need to lose the weight. They know the doctor has told them, you know what, Tai, if you keep going this route, you probably will have a heart problem, whatever. But you're just not ready. Like you just feel like you just keep eating more chips and getting more stuff. How can you begin to think of it, or what can another person looking on the outside, maybe it's a parent and a child, a husband and wife, if you're trying to help somebody else who is not ready to do the work, what can you begin to do to help them get there? Is there anything you can do, or you just have to say, whenever you're ready, we'll talk? Do you feel like there is need to help people get into the place where they're ready, or is it more like people are ready when they are, and there's nothing you're gonna do about it?
Well, I think the best thing that you can do is model for them.
Mm,
So if you're a husband and your wife is not doing, it's your partner is not you know seeing the need for it, then you model it.
mm,
Are you doing the things that need to be done? Are you eating healthy? If it's an internal issue, are you taking care of your own mental health? I mean, you can model it for what they, and be an example of what you want them to do, right? You
mm,
model that behavior. Now, if it's you and you know that you're just not doing it, here's a phrase that I want your audience to write down. And this is so simple, but I promise you it will change everything. And you can write this down every day. I call it scripting.
mm. I have my pen. I'm ready. What are we
And all
writing?
you and all it is that you have to say, I am willing to take ownership.
Mm,
I am willing to be accountable. I am willing to work on this. Just start telling yourself that I am willing to work. Not that I'm going to do it, but I am
mm,
willing to. Just start telling yourself that I am willing to. Because what you are actually battling in a lot of cases is I can't, I never, I don't know how. And those are the
mm,
messages that they're subconscious messages that are coming through. I
mm,
never, I can't, I don't know how. And even if you don't say them out loud, there's something in you that's telling you, oh, it's not going to work for me. It works for everybody else. It never works for me. It'll never happen for me. And that's what your internal dialogue is. So you need to start changing that and say, I am willing to learn how to be healthier.
mm,
I am willing to learn. I am willing to add 30 minutes of exercise to my day.
mm,
I am willing to eat better. I am willing to learn what foods I should stay away from. Just be willing to and watch how you start to shift.
the will. Wow.
Yeah, I'm willing to. Just tell yourself I'm willing to. Because that doesn't mean you have to have the answers. right? It doesn't mean you have to do it tomorrow, but you do have to be willing.
Yeah, the will.
I'm willing to. I'm willing to figure that out. I'm willing to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because even saying that you're willing to think about it, because here's what happens is, well, I don't want to think about that. I'm going to avoid it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to stop avoiding it. I'm willing to think about it.
Also
You're
whole
sowing a different
new.
message to yourself.
That's a whole new thing that if the person who's listening started to do that, would I can see how that would change a lot of things. It's not like I am not willing to talk about, like I am willing to give it a try. I am willing to try it out. I'm willing to start. I'm willing to give that a go. Just the will. Wow. This
Yeah.
has been powerful, Tai. Is there anything left about imposter syndrome that you would love for people to hear? What did we miss? That you feel
Um,
like, you know what, people need to hear this before we close out.
Well, I'm gonna give you a link, and you can put it in your show notes to a quiz that we actually have, to help you figure out which imposter archetype is stopping you from showing up, right? Because your audience can take that quiz and they'll get some insight and some information there. And I do want to say something, share something with you, Prima. You've got a bigger message. And you're kind of holding on to it. And I know you're trying to fit yourself into like the pegs, right? You're trying to fit yourself into the pegs. And I want to encourage you, like the passion that you have for people, especially people that are healers. It's okay for you to start leading with that. It really is.
Trust me, I'm taking the journey. I'm on step 1 of 100. And so I have no
Yeah.
idea about all this spiritual world. And I'm like, God, I'm here. I am an open vessel. I am here. Give me everything. I am learning this. And that is why I'm working with healers and
Yeah.
all of these people behind the scenes, because I feel like there is something about me that is being called to be close, to work with them, to understand the work. And I am totally
Yeah.
open for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
you
So
for
you're
saying,
willing.
because I feel
So,
like it's possible.
so you're willing, right?
I
I
am
tied it right into
willing
the last
to
thing. You're willing.
get
I
into
love
my
it.
spirituality. I am willing.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's
Yeah.
no one who is more of an open vessel than I am. I'm willing to give
Yeah.
everything a go. So
Good. Good. Good.
no.
Thank you so
Tell
much.
tell us, I appreciate that you came today, that you said yes, that you went through my bunch of questions. I ask a lot and some people don't like it. And I'm like, oh God, give me a better way to say it so that these people know what I'm trying to get. Tell the listener exactly where they should go to start a journey with you, leaving that imposter behind and stepping into the vision that they're fully called to serving.
They can go to taigoodwin.com. That's our main website, and there's a place on there. There's a button on there that says "Start Here," right? So that's the easiest thing to do. They can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm there sharing content. I have a Facebook group called Brilliant Business Girlfriends, and it's for those people who want to use their spirituality as a practitioner. So if you are a light worker, if you're witchy, if you magical, whatever you want to call it, it's a space for you to come in and be supported and find a sense of community. So those are the best 3 ways for folks to get connected and stay connected.
I love it. And she has a podcast. It's called Girlfriend Get
Girlfriend Get Free.
Yes, I thought that was my main thing. Like, I am going to be listening to this. And so she has a podcast. If that's your thing, go dive in. Unfortunately, we have a hard stop with Tai. She has to fly. But Tai, thank you so much for your patience, for your insights, for your wisdom, for pouring into the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for you who's kept through this conversation, I hope that it served you as much as I think it has. If you know one person that needs to hear this message, please share this episode with them. Tai has an amazing gift. She's been around for decades, and I feel like she has a depth of wisdom to offer, and her work is changing lives. So if you know just one person that needs to listen to this interview and needs to follow Tai's work and needs to get in front of whatever Tai does, share this message with them, share this interview with them. Of course, rate us, review this, and do all of the amazing things. I appreciate you hanging out with us today, and I will talk to you very soon. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.